my internet can hear me. I would like us to know how we're doing. If you could write something on the chat for me and just let me know how you are doing. This is basically a mental health check-in. Okay.
Your sound is okay now.
Better now? Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
All right. So let's have a mental health check-in. How are you doing? You feeling today? How has this? How has your day been? How has your week been? I am looking to see responses from the chat. Maybe last week I just let you know what responses we have on the chat.
Okay. Lucy says she's doing good, but this one she had shared before you shared the screen.
Okay.
Elizabeth says that she is a bit tired and grateful. Her day has felt unproductive, not had her best work done today. Unidia feels burnt out, eagerly waiting for the weekend to recharge. Ruth taking it one day at a time, and I'm grateful for my progress. Gladys says feels overwhelmed. Philemon quite fine, busy day-to-day activities. Yeah.
Great, great. So let's try and bring ourselves back to this session. And I would like us to just do 5 deep breaths. You basically, wherever you are, I want you to try. Yes?
I don't know why. Maybe as you're sharing your when you hadn't shared your screen, the voice was okay, the sound was okay. Could I share the screen for you?
I need to send you what I have.
Yeah, please do. Maybe that will help stabilize things, even as we are sharing how we are. Please, everybody, let's share in.
Right, just one moment.
I am sorry. I hope you can hear me.
Yes. Nancy.
Okay. Sorry about that. Catherine, are you okay? Please let me know when you send the presentation.
Okay, I will. It's a bit of a large document, so oops.
Yeah, let's keep sharing how we are. The responses do not match how many how many people are here. So yeah. Iris feeling grateful, been resting, and I'm loving it. Must be nice, girl. Must be nice. Mercy feeling better. Nice. Good to see. Please keep them coming. Sorry for the delay.
Right. Nancy, you can check.
Okay. Be it.
Okay, I'm just going through the messages. Mercy's feeling better. Wana Wanjao, feeling tired and demotivated. Wow, sorry about that. Korea, glad to be joining. Looking forward for this lesson. With Kibunja, thank you so much. Frida is taking it a day at a time, while Philip, my head is full. I need some rest. That's a good one. All right, so how are we doing? For those who have just joined us, we are looking into how are we doing. Please post it in the chat. Let's get to identify where we are, because that helps us to know what we need and how to take care of ourselves.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
And so we apologize for technical issues.
Let me just share it as a PowerPoint.
Yes.
I think that's better. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So we were in the chat and we were sharing an emoji that reflects on how we feel today, and just basically describing how your week has been. you. All right, yes. So this is what I want us to do for now, so that we're able to just basically center ourselves and bring ourselves back to this particular session. Wherever you are, just take a deep breath in and breathe out with your mouth slowly. Now, take note of your surrounding. If your feet are well grounded on the floor, are your shoulders tensed up? Are you feeling relaxed for the moment? How is your sitting position? Are you uncomfortable? Are you comfortable? How is the environment around you? Is it cold? Is it too hot? I mean, it has been a season which has been quite hot, but be conscious of your surrounding. And then we will take 5 deep breaths. You breathe in with your nose and breathe out with your mouth. Yeah? So if you're together, give me a thumbs up. We have any thumbs up? All right, let's do this. So let's breathe in 1, 2, 3, and breathe out in 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in again. Remember, in with your nose, out with your mouth. Let's breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 more times. Breathe in, a deep breath, slowly in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the last one, breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe out for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Thank you. So let's get started. I hope we are a bit relaxed, because we need to be able to ground ourselves and just bring our attention to the to this particular session. If we could go to the next slide. Thank you, Radina. So why do wellness practices matter? One of the reasons we do this, if we just keep moving on, please. And mainly trying to relate it to where we are right now. Teaching is very emotionally demanding. I must salute you as teachers. It is one of the professions that is quite hard to actually hack. Being able to get into the minds of little ones and changing how they think. So it can be very emotionally demanding. The kind of cases you come through, some are exciting, some are overwhelming. It's not adults where you can almost tell them off. It is, children where you have to be empathetic. The second thing is that we have learners facing a lot of stress. Yeah. And then what happens? Nancy, if we can move on. Yeah, so learners face increasingly a lot of stress, and at the end of the day, that stress is reflected or comes out in class. Most of the times, children don't know how to hide what they're going through, so they basically let it out. Yeah. So this behavior is going to affect the learning behavior. It's going to affect how the children pay attention in class. It's going to affect how they behave, how they respond, how they absorb what you are actually trying to teach them. Yeah. So what happens then? The teacher well-being shapes the classroom climate. How well you are as a teacher is able to shape how well you're going to deliver, the atmosphere in the class, how the children are going to be able to respond to you. So it's important that you actually have something that you can practice. It's important to practice self-care. So what are we going to be looking in this session's objective? Let's move on. So the number one thing we're looking at is to be able to first understand mental health and well-being. This is not a topic that is new to any one of us. And I'm sure that by the time you came here, you are quite familiar with the mental health topic and well-being. Looking at it holistically, looking at it on how do we take care of each other? How do you prevent instead of being able to, diagnoses and all that? How do we stop things from happening before they actually happen? We need to also be able to recognize what is stress and what is burnout. Without recognizing that, even in our own setting, then we are not able to help those who we are supposed to be helping. We apply small practices every day, and this is key to this particular session. So we'll be looking at what is it that we can practice on a daily basis that is going to make our lives as teachers and the lives of our students much better. And finally, how do we strengthen support systems in school? How do we create a system that actually works, a system that can be duplicated to teacher after teacher, class after class? Yeah. So let's start with what is well-being. Well-being is an active process of becoming aware of and making choices towards a healthier and fulfilling life. Yeah. What I like about this definition, which is by the WHO, it tells us it's a process. So it is not something that you do and then, you're good at it. Or it is not something, it's not a project that has a beginning and an end. Well-being is a process. It's a lifestyle. It's something you do on an everyday basis. It's about the choices that you make on a daily basis. And why do you make the choices? You need a healthy life and you need a fulfilling life. So it helps us answer the questions, how do you feel and function on a day-to-day basis? Yeah. What are the personal and social dimensions that you look into? When you wake up in the morning, what is it that you're thinking about? What influences your environment? Is it your relationships, where you stay? What are you surrounded with that reflects on your well-being? Then there's some dynamic and changeable items that you can actually work on. What are these that influence your well-being, that are dynamic and they're changeable? So I'd like to ask you one question, and kindly engage with us on the chat. What does a fulfilling life look like to you? What does a fulfilling life mean to you? For some, it would mean a lot of money. Probably right there, everybody needs some extra money in one way or another. But then what? When you have all the money, then you can buy everything in the world. Yeah. But we also know people who have all the money, but they're not happy, they're not fulfilled. So what is a fulfilling life? Someone tell me in chat. What does a fulfilling life mean to you? Yeah. So as you type that up, and please let's see, let's have something going on in there. So what are the facets of well-being? Let's go through the facets of well-being so that you can answer me that question quite well. Yeah. So we have what we call more or less the wheel of life. And the wheel of life helps us to identify the various areas of wellness. So according to this, it was adapted from the wellness approach from a psychiatric rehabilitation journal. We have emotional wellness, which is coping effectively with life. That has to do with how you regulate your feelings, whether you have satisfied relationships. We have financial wellness, which is your current and your future financial status. How do you feel about them? Or have you been working on them? We have social wellness. Social wellness, do you feel a sense of belonging where you are? Do you have a well-developed support system? If you needed to call somebody to help you as a means of emergency, do you have someone, do you have at least a few people that you can call immediately and they'll show up for you. Then you have spiritual wellness, expanding your sense of purpose and having meaning to life. What is the meaning of the life that you're leading here? One of the challenges that we've had with our current generation, the so-called Gen Zs, is the number of suicides have actually gone up. And you're wondering, is it that we don't have a meaning to life right now? What is it? What's your purpose on earth? Yeah. Once you're able to identify that, then you're able to live and push towards it. Occupational wellness. Are you happy with your job right now? Are you happy as an educator? Is it something that you'd like to live with for the rest of your life? I mean, there's a career path to it, all the way to PhDs. I mean, it's a wide path. Are you happy with where you are? It's important to be happy with your work, because if you're not, you keep getting anxious, you keep getting distraught. Yeah. Talk about physical wellness. And the physical wellness, do you have enough energy? Are you sleeping? How is your nutrition? And the intellectual wellness, do you keep reinventing yourself? Do you keep educating yourself? Do you keep learning new things? Environmental wellness. Look at where you stay. Is it the kind of place at 4 a.m. you're woken up by the matatu, put in very hard? Or are you near the garbage pit where everyone throws their rubbish, so it's consistently smelling? How do you choose where you stay? How do you choose where you come from? How do you choose the environment? How do you keep your house? You know, do you have that lovely pot somewhere? You just look at the flower and it makes you feel well. Your environment is actually very important. Yeah. So let's look at mental health in learners. What does it mean to them? According to statistics, 13% of adolescents live with a mental health disorder. 13% is not a small number. 50% of conditions are diagnosed before age 14. They actually begin before age 14. This is the age where they are all going through their education, which means the possibility of you seeing these conditions and not being able to identify them or pinpoint that this is what is happening are very high. So you're going to have students who are behaving in different manner, but it has not been diagnosed. So what do you do about it? Yeah. So what happens during this phase before their diagnosis is made? There's a lot of absenteeism, there's a lot of poor performance, and that's why the schools play a very important role, a very protective role, a role that is so key because these children spend so much time in school that their parents don't even see these diseases. All they will see, or they don't see the symptoms. All they will hear is, your child is doing this, your child is doing that. So what are the risk factors when it comes to school? One of the things that we are going to see is difficult life experiences. Children will feel they don't belong. Remember, we talked about social wellness. Social wellness, having a support system. They have challenges, have making friends. They're not learning how to bond with people. Yeah. So what do they need at this point? They need stronger relationships and connections with their teachers. They need something positive to hold on to. They need trust in relationships. They need to feel safe and they need to feel supported. And so who is there to give all this? It's the teacher. So if you're a teacher and you have a class of 60 and half of that class is this demanding, then you have a limitation in support services. And these are some of the risk factors that we look at on a day-to-day basis. So the question is, what do we do? So before we look at the survey that we had done, let's go back to the question that we asked. What does fulfilled life look like to you? Maybe we can just go back to the chat box. Let's see some responses.
We had
all right.
a few.
Yes.
Yeah. One says, Bonanjao says simple peace of mind. Philip says coming home to a peaceful environment with met needs. Lucy says having peace of mind. Moy says achieving set goals, short-term and long-term goals. And then Tracy says contentment with my progress in life. Gladys says when you're fulfilled and things run as planned. Benjamin says an environment full of harmony and a motivated one to face the next day with energy. And Gakuria says peace, creativity, fulfillment. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Thank you to all who managed to give us a response to that. And yes, a fulfilled life is very individual. It is very personal. For one, it means peace. For the other, it means your environment. For someone else, it's going home and just having some peace and quiet. You've worked hard to create a home for yourself, just that peace and quiet in your home. However, we find more than often that this gets disrupted. So what is it that you can take and what is it that you're working on? So we had a chance to look at the survey that we did there and summarize it, and I would like us to have a look at the results that we had. And because this survey told us a lot about what is happening and where you are at the moment. We start with what are the existing wellness practices? What already exists, even if it is inconsistent? And I guess one of the loudest was guidance and counseling. Most schools have the guidance and counseling structure where there are formal departments, there are classes that happen, there are assemblies that happen, which is a very good thing. There's mentorship and there's coaching. No advice, as you're going through this feedback, if you feel there's something that is not in your school, please jot it down because then it is something that you can take advantage of. Yeah. So we have mentorship and coaching. It's done on an individual, but also on a group basis. We have morning check-ins. We have circle time. We have class meetings where, in one session with your class, you're able to talk to your children, talk to your class, ask them how they're doing, what are the issues that are affecting them. And that is best done in the morning just to be able to set the pace for the day. There's peer support and peer counseling. Peer counseling is very important because they're able to relate one-on-one. The question is, are the peers counseling or advising? There's usually a line to draw on that. So how you educate your peers is very important. There is sports, which is very important because sporting and exercise and movement, they ensure the body is moving, the blood is flowing, so there is refreshment, there's, the stress factors, the cortisol is gotten rid of when you are actually exercising. It helps your body to flow. And then we also have a lot of mindfulness that is happening. We have some of the responses we got. There was breathing, there was gratitude, there's having quiet time, there's journaling. And I know journaling is quite important because it helps them to be able to say what exactly they feel, put it down on paper, and it helps to ease the burden. Faith and values-based forums. This is hours of prayer, meditation, and lessons on ethics. Safe spaces in some schools, where they have calm corners, formal learning, informal listening spaces, and some actually have art as a therapy, which is very important. One of the other things that I saw was some who just do music, just have a session where students can sing their heart out. Yeah. Then there's informal teacher-led conversations and encouragement, and this could be where we have one-on-one sessions. So the key highlight on this question, the key insight, was that we are all doing something, even if it is inconsistent. However, it's dependent on individuals. Most of these practices are dependent on individuals. Then we have these routines that you put in your class, but not everybody is actually doing it. And they're not guided by a shared framework. And that is probably where the challenge comes. So what was the other question? The other question were what barriers on well-being support? What makes it difficult to be able to practice what you're doing? The first thing, the loudest, was the time and workload pressures. Yeah, the academic load, the rigid timetables, the syllabus pressure, the limited access to reflection time. Yeah. There's the structural and systematic constraints, as you let us know, for large classes. And maybe we can try. Just write for me on the chat and let me know. When you say a large class size, which is the largest class size that you're currently handling? If you can just put for me that on the chat, it would be nice to just go through it. Then we have limited resources and funding. Then we have lack of organized or professional-led counseling departments. So we have a counseling departments, but those who are in charge of it are not well trained for it. And that becomes a bit of a challenge. Then inadequate training for teachers on mental health support. And at times in some organizations, in some schools, you find the mental health support is done to specific teachers, not to everybody. Which that would be a challenge, because then what the guidance and counseling teacher is doing is not duplicated. It's not, there's no ripple effect into the classroom and to the other teachers. So inadequate training is one of the difficult sessions that we've been having. Then the next has been external and contextual factors. We have parents who are totally disengaged and have unrealistic expectations. We're quite aware that some of the parents actually think that it's your job as a teacher to do everything A to Z. Yeah. Then we have family traumas. And those are many. Traumas can have traumas, come in different forms for every student. There are traumas from what the children have seen or what they have gone through or what they lack when they lack emotional support or emotional bonding from their families. There's peer pressure and indiscipline. The socioeconomic challenges, especially in informal settlements, and that seriously goes to the financial wellness aspect of it. And there's social media and environmental stresses. Things like social media, it's easy to control when you are in school, but it's hard to control when you're out of school. The other barrier that you faced is limited mental health literacy among staff, as I mentioned earlier. The fear of doing the wrong thing. You want to help, but you're wondering, am I doing the right thing to do so? There's a stigma around mental health. I think some of us, where we grew up, we realized mental health was mental health was more or less seen as for people who are on the road collecting trash or something like that. I think that perspective has to change, and it is coming slowly up and changing. Again, we have those who take advantage and just say, no, me, I'm a special case. But really, it's a case of indiscipline. So how do you draw the boundaries? Yeah. What are the boundaries for the teacher? So what was the key insight with this question? So the challenge is not the lack of care. It is evident that the teachers care, but the lack of enabling systems. So how do we create those systems? Yeah. So the teachers are consistent. They need to be confidential, and to do this within the safe professional boundaries. So the last question is the teacher's perceived role, where it begins and where it ends. So where does it start? The teacher's roles begins with creating a safe, inclusive, and respectful classroom. Is it a class where everybody is able, is it a space where everybody is able to speak? Is it a space where everybody is able to express themselves? Is it inclusive? Are those who talk and those who are so silent, they don't even think that or have the confidence to contribute to it? Is it a respectful classroom where we don't boo each other? We're not negative to what the other person says. Building trust and relationships. Being present, observant, approachable. Are you there? Are you available for your children? Are you available for your students? Are you able to watch and see and notice this one has been too quiet? Yeah. Again, the sizes of the class is going to affect that. Are you approachable? Or are we sending students? That's a problem. Go see someone else. Yeah. Are we approachable? Do we give them the space to do that? Do you model emotional regulation, empathy, and values? What are your values as an individual so that you're able to transmit them? Identify the early signs of distress in students, and then offer basic emotional support and encouragement. That is where your role begins. Where it continues through are the daily interactions in the classrooms, the mentorship and guidance that we have been talking about, the follow-up and check-ins. This is one of the most important ones, because when a student talks to you and then you follow up and you check in with them, it makes you approachable. It makes you able to speak to them more. Collaborating with colleagues and parents where appropriate. That collaboration is important because then you don't bear the burden alone. There's something that we call compassionate fatigue, where you have had so much of this, so many of the negative complaints, so much is going on, and you're wondering, where can I handle this? So the challenge is you have not had a channel where you allow yourself to also debrief. Yeah, most psychologists, what happens is that after a certain time, they're required to see another psychologist so that the emotions they have carried with them after seeing such a certain number of patients, then they go and debrief so that they do not carry those emotions with them. Otherwise, you struggle from compassionate fatigue. Compassionate fatigue comes from emotional labor. You have carried so much with you. Have you been able to debrief? Hence, collaborations are very important. So where does your role as a teacher end? It ends at diagnosis of the mental health condition. So if one is told, this child is actually schizophrenic, this child has bipolar, once that diagnosis has been made, or in the process of making the diagnosis, because you can deal with a student until you say, okay, I think you need to get a profession to have a look at you. That process of having to go through the professional then is where the teacher's role ends. But doesn't always end there, because that student is likely to come back, even with their mental health condition, most likely with medication to help them go through, and they will need that support system. They will need that support system. Yeah. So I would like to hear from you. We have learned a lot from you. We have learned a lot. This feedback has really been a great insight. What are your thoughts about what you have seen right now? I'm looking for a chat engagement. 90 learners. Yes, I had asked how many learners you have. The most learners we have had, I said 72 learners in a class. Wow. Wow. 26 learners in a class. 5 learning areas. Stress load. 90 learners, Diana, wow. 9 autistic learners with a teacher colleague on a wheelchair. That's a very interesting dimension about it. So tell me on the chat, from the feedback we have shared, what is it that you have picked? What was a light bulb moment from what you have, what we have just seen right now? I'll just give you 1 minute to let me know.
Please feel free to share in the chat what has been a light bulb moment for you so far. Maybe for me, it's let me just share out loud. It's just the understanding that fulfillment means differently to different people. Yeah, I think what is fulfilling for one is not the same as, yeah, sometimes you may want to equate the metric of fulfillment. Yeah, thank you for sharing. I see Philip saying to identify signs of stress early before it spills. Thank you for that. John says, I especially appreciate the point on the compassionate fatigue. Yeah, sometimes setting the boundary, the line is hard for teachers. You're not expected to crumble at all. Yeah, that silent expectation is laid inwardly for teachers. Thank you for sharing. Let's continue.
Great. I think because I'm keen on hearing a bit more about this particular feedback that you've given us. Let's know a little bit more on what your thoughts are. What is it that has been? What is it? What was the most catching thing about the feedback that you have given us?
Frida says that some students labeled difficult could be struggling with mental health issues. Yeah.
That is true, very true, very true. Yeah. So usually if it is not because of the upbringing, or even at times, even if the upbringing, you will find that they have mental health issues that have not been diagnosed. And unfortunately, the teachers are the ones that bear the brunt. So the question is, as teachers, are we able to diagnose? We don't want you to diagnose. Are you able to tell when is it that this person, you need to actually recommend this student needs to see a specialist? They need to see a psychiatrist or psychologist because they need further help. Are we able to draw that line? I think some of the challenges about having large class sizes is probably something that needs to be looked at and spoken about more consistently. Parental disengagement. One of the things that we have seen is students actually carry these things from home and bring them to class because children don't know how to do it differently, you know? Apologies, I just need to check on my data before it.
Lucy shares 50% of the condition begin before 14 years and therefore the need for early intervention. Yeah. And lowering cortisol, I don't know some of what that word means, by engaging outdoor activities such as exercising, engaging in clubs for the well-being of learners. Yeah. I remember when we studied or when I was in high school, and that PE lesson used to be scrambled for by teachers. And, you know, it wasn't seen as contributing to anything per se, but I hope that now that all of you are here, like around 43 of you, that you understand now that there is a place for that PE lesson. You know, Walimu Ahmad, tafadhali. Yeah, walimu wa English, please encourage the learners to go out in the field, even if they won't get it at that point. Just do it. Yeah, thank you. Welcome back, Catherine.
Thank you. I agree. I totally agree. There are things that we think are not as important, but for the student, they are seriously important. Yeah. So let's move on. let's move on so that we see whether we'll finish this in good time. So what is the role of teachers? I call it a protective role. And the number one thing is to provide consistency and safety. What does it take for you to create consistency? It takes you to say, this is how I will begin my class. This is how I will end in class. Yeah. Remember, we started with having a session where we are grounding ourselves. How are you feeling? Identify your feelings. And then take deep breaths, because at times we find we're so tensed up that we don't allow oxygen to enter into our systems properly. You're not conscious of your surrounding. I have seen people who wear sweaters when it is like 35 degrees and you're wondering, are you not feeling hot? The question is, are you aware of your surrounding? Are you aware of your environment? Or are you on zombie mode? So the idea is get off zombie mode. Yeah. So you need to be consistent in providing safety. Because if you can do that, then if you're aware of your surrounding, then you're able to mirror the same to your students. Model emotional regulation. What happens when you're angry with your students? Do you bang the tables? How do you show them that you're not happy with what has just happened? How do you model that regulation? Strengthen protective relationships. So how is it that you relate to your students, and how do you strengthen them so that they're free to come to you? They're free to talk to you about what they're going through. And what this helps them do is that they then reduce the stigma around mental health. The more conversations you have on mental health, then the easier it is for them. Yeah? So let's look at what the mental health bucket looks like. The mental health bucket has stressors. The stressors are the ones that fill the bucket. The coping strategies, they empty the bucket. So an overflow of the stressors leads to distress. It leads to burnout. It leads to emotional fatigue, emotional labor, compassionate fatigue. Yeah. So what you need is to be able to create the balance. So if you look carefully on this, and I'm sure that we are going to be able to just go through it. What are some of the stressors that come in? You're worried about your work. Your class is overflow. You have students who have different challenges they're going through, and you feel you have no capacity to feel, to deal with their issues. You're not eating well. You have filled your meals with sugars. There's no healthy diet. Financially, you're thinking, my God, I need to make more money. Yeah? You have lack of sleep. You spend your time thinking and also just looking for distraction. So you're not having, sleep becomes a lot of issues. Family and relationship issues. Yeah, you have your relationships at home, your support system, your social wellness is not working well. Then we have health concerns. And you'll find most of the time when you have a lot of challenges having around you, your body always reacts. Either your blood sugars go up, or you get hypertension, your kidneys start failing. And that is mainly because you're not taking time to take care of yourself. Yeah. So remember self. In all the challenges that you have, remember that self is more important. Self helps you to move to the next level. It helps you to be consistent. So, excuse me. When the bucket is full, you are totally overwhelmed. And then you become stressed. When it's lower, it means you're coping well. And when it's, getting a bit almost completely empty, then you're more relaxed. But what are the habits that you have developed to help you reach to this place of being relaxed? Take your time to enjoy things. Yeah. When's the last time you actually did something fun? With your family, on your own, with a colleague? When is the last time you did something fun? Practice mindfulness. Sit down and think about what you're going through. Take time to talk to your family and friends. If you live away from your family, if you're too busy, make a schedule. Put alarms. I want to call my family member at this time, just to say hi. It makes a lot of difference. Yeah. And there's also good time management. What do you do with your time? One of the challenges we have even with us adults is that we spend almost an hour or more scrolling on our phones. Our hope is that you're scrolling for the right things, but usually it's for entertainment. But that time you spend doing that, have you managed your time well? Yeah. So let's move on and look at what does burnout look like. Because when we don't manage our bucket, then we end up with burnout. So some workplaces are chronic. They can be chronic because of the workload, or they can be chronic because of those who you work with or whom you report to, or basically just the children when you are. Are you able to identify what is stressing you at the workplace? Just list it down for yourself. You'll find you have emotional exhaustion. I think I've said this enough time, emotional labor. What does that do to you? It reduces your motivation. It kills your energy completely. So which is the best way to bring your motivation up? How to get to this level where you're not, overwhelmed? It reduces your empathy and connection. This is the effect of compassionate fatigue. When you have compassionate fatigue, someone is bringing you a problem, you're like, oh, really? You have no energy for empathy. You cannot connect with that person, And my hope is that none of us ever gets to experience this, where you go to a colleague and you're seeking, some empathy, but their bucket is so full that they cannot connect with what you're trying to say. In fact, they almost sound that they're a bother. Then you'll find that your performance is declining. But burnout, my friends, is not a personal failure. That's a fact. It's not a personal failure, burnout. It's a system issue. When you list down what can be done differently, where boundaries should have been drawn, what you should be doing within your capacity, you'll find that the system is actually failing you. Yeah. So what happens when your colleague comes to you and tell them, you know what, I'm really, really having a hard time? Yeah. What is the first thing you look at? How do you help them? The first thing is to bring your mind to what they're saying. Pay attention to them. Listen to what they're saying without judging them. Paying attention means you're looking at them. Rehema? Rehema. Are we able to mute her? All right, thank you. All right, so how do you let your colleague know that you're there for them? Number one, when they're talking to you, they need to be able to make eye contact. If you are writing something, put the pen down. If you're reading something on your phone, put your phone away. Pay attention to what they're saying. You listen to them without judging. Try and pick up the main points of what they're saying. Be able to repeat what they're saying. That is how they know that you're actually listening to them. Be patient with them. Yeah. Remember that by the time they got there, they have been through so much. So be patient to listen to them. Yeah. Then you need to ask them, what have you been doing for self-care? What works for you in terms of self-care? When is the last time you did something, an activity that will assist you in self-care? How have you prioritized your life? And when you actually practiced self-care, what was the outcome for that? Because that's the only way that you can know how you can help. At times, we tend to jump into giving advice. Like, oh, no, you should do this, you should do this. But most of the times, people know what they need to do to get out of burnout. It's just that they have not come to the realization. So, like when you go to a coach and coaches just help you to see what you're going on. They let you talk and they ask you a question and asking you, okay, so how have you done self-care before? Then they're able to talk. And as they're talking, they're getting ideas on how to practice self-care and get out of burnout. The most important thing, you give them an ear to listen. Yeah, you're able to identify for them that they're running on burnout. Yeah, and what exactly has triggered this particular moment of burnout. Then encourage them to practice self-care. Yeah. So what does self-management looks like? What does self-management, mental health management look like? Yeah. There are 4 questions that you should ask yourself. What am I feeling? That's one of the questions that we have been able to do at the very beginning of this session. Yeah. What am I feeling? So from what you're feeling right now, you're feeling burnt out, you're feeling demotivated, you feel your energies are low. In all that, what is within your control now? What is within your control is that you can focus your thoughts on something different. You have the time that you are in right now, you can do something different. We did breathing exercises, and for some, you're able to feel at least you're a bit calm. So what is within your control? As you say, when some of us, when you're on the road, you're usually told that you're the only sane person on the road. Because especially in our Kenyan roads, you find drivers, the matatus, man. Hey, I don't know whether it is their way of releasing stress or it's a culture. It's probably a culture. They just come and cut in. At times, I do not like to sit in front when it's a matatu or a bus because I feel mercy on the person that they are cutting in. All the time they're cutting in, they're getting out, then the border guy has come and cut in, and you just you're wondering, surely this guy. But you can't control that. You know what you can control? You can control your thoughts. You can choose not to focus on what they're doing, but be careful on how you're using the road yourself. You can choose to be conscious about your environment without focusing on why are these guys not been rolling. So what options do you make at that particular time? Do you feel yourself getting worked up and then tell yourself, calm down. It's not worth the trouble. Yeah? Don't get your stresses up. So what is within your control? Then what do you need to do? Yeah? What do you need to do when you're on that road? What do you need to do when you feel you had a very bad, hard conversation? What do you need to do when you're looking at a student who is so indisciplined, you have tried everything you can do? What do you need to do when you're feeling your blood is boiling? Yeah? Do you need to take a walk? Do you need to rest? Do you need to take some water? Do you need to talk to someone just to debrief? Then you ask yourself, who can support you? Make a list of that. Be intentional. Who can support you? Who are you going to call? Yeah. At times you think, wait, let me call my husband. Like, no, he's going to say this. Wait, let me call my sister. Like, she's too far. Let me call so. No, you can't cancel everyone out. That is why we build support systems, because you need to have a support system around you. It doesn't matter whether you keep fighting. You don't keep things in a state of fight. Make amends, because you need to be intentional in creating your support system. And as I talk about the support system, which is under social wellness, some of us, our support systems are in the bar. So I had a story from one of our colleagues who were telling us they had this group that they would go and have their drinks with all the time. And as you meet other people who are just basically coming to have drinks with you, and you'd share, oh, this round is my round, this round is your round. Then you know each other as Bwana Mkubwa. You honestly do not know each other's names. So what happened one day is that one of the guys was arrested, and he happened to have the number of one of his bar friends. So when he called his friends, like, hey, Banas, you can't bail me out, I have been arrested. And the guy went, hey, yeah, sure. He went to the police station. So when the police asked him, okay, so what is the name of the person you have come for? And he's telling the cops, I know him as Bwana Mkubwa. Even on my phone, I have called him Bwana Mkubwa. So he just shouted, Bwana Mkubwa. And the guy in the cell shouted, yes, yes, I'm here. And you're like, okay, that is a special kind of friendship. You do not know each other's names, but you can come and rescue each other, even in the pub. I mean, when you've been caught. But so my question basically is your social network, your support system. It may be advisable to know someone's name so that you're not Bwana Mkubwa in everybody who who you're going to the rescue for. Yeah. So mental health self-management requires that you ask yourself some basic questions. Write them down somewhere so that every time you feel you're distraught, then you ask yourself specific questions. So what does self-care for teachers look like? Yeah. And basically, we're looking at this because we want to understand that once you take care of yourself, then you're able to take care for those. A few tips for you as teachers so that you can take care of your students. You must care for yourself first. Remember, if you have nothing to give, then you'll have a very hard time connecting to your student. So take breaks in between lessons, even if it is just 3 minutes break. Take a break. Ground yourself. Allow yourself to transition from one environment to the other, from one class to the other. Allow yourself that break. We'll be looking at a YouTube video about taking breaks and re-energizing yourself, just as we go to the end. Set boundaries. Know when to say no. Know when the work is too much. Keep saying, no, this is not doable. Don't give up the fight. I know at times you're told, okay, you either take it or leave. Yeah, but there are guidelines on how many people should be in a class, how many students should be in a class. So keep talking about it so that eventually the leadership is going to be able to look for solutions as to how to get the workload a bit better. Check in with yourself on how you feel, what you need. Talk and share. Create your network of those who you can talk and share with. Rest and look for something that makes you happy. Sleep is important, 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So what does sleep help us? It helps your brain to consolidate your memories. Yeah, it helps to balance your hormones. It brings your cortisol down. It helps to repair any tissues that may have been damaged. Even runners, even the marathon runners need their sleep, because if they don't do that, then they wear off their cortisol because of running. It goes very high because you put a lot of pressure. So you need to move. You need to rest. Yeah, and there's also you need to hydrate, nourish your body, eat the correct foods. Yeah? Make sure you're drinking as much water as possible. Yeah. So why do these small practices work? Because these are very basic things. Taking a break, setting boundaries, checking with yourself. Why do this matter? What happens? The small habits are more sustainable. It's basically the way you wake up in the morning and you brush your teeth, you make your bed, you have your breakfast, that routine. If your routine starts with a reflection in the morning, however your routine is, small habits are more sustainable. The consistency beats intensity. Yeah. You find that if you are consistent in doing a few things, then it is better than when you're doing something intense, one-off, and you're done. The consistency brings behaviors and habits which are positive. Systems matter more than motivation. When you create a system around you, then it keeps you motivated. So systems, motivation can easily go up, it can easily go down. But you have a system in place, then it builds the consistency that we're looking for. Then the tiny changes you make, the compound over time. If you get used in the morning that you wake up and 5 minutes you're doing stretches, basic stretches, lift your hands, stretch your feet, stretch your toes, get your blood moving. Do that for 5 minutes. When that becomes consistent, you find out that you can actually do another 15 minutes of exercise every morning. then your body demands more. Give me 30 minutes walk. Yeah. It allows you to allow your body to adapt to a higher level of positive things. So what about students? Why are small practices important for students? When it comes to students, at their age, they need predictability. It increases the safety in them because they know at this time we do this. There's a safe space there. The routines give them emotional regulation. Yeah. The routine of knowing I wake up at this time. Yeah. When this happens, this is what happens. It gives them a bit of regulation. Then they develop skills through repetition. If you get used to morning check-ins, then this student knows that in the morning, I get in touch with myself. In the morning, I get to reflect. In the morning, I get to figure out how is my day going to be. And then now those small actions, they build up to resilience. One of the challenges that we have had is that our students don't have resilience. And we keep complaining. But the truth is they are actually in a development stage. And this is the best time for them to build resilience. So some of the things that we have seen, the practices that encourage connection and well-being. As we saw in the feedback that you gave us, remember the guidance and counseling, it works. The mentorship, the morning check-ins, the peer support, and the sports and exercise movement. These are the bigger ones that can be institutionalized, which means you can just put guidelines. Your institution can actually adapt this. So if we break down for students what some of these practices look like or how we can categorize them, we can start with emotional regulation. Under emotional regulation, just as we were saying, give me an emoji or a word. How are you feeling today? So can they give you a thumbs up? Can they give you a thumbs down? Then you know how your class is doing. During class moments, yeah, take a break. Give them a chance to reground themselves. Teach your students how to name emotions. This is how I feel. This is what is going on with me. Now remember, one of the challenges that you mentioned you have in the feedback we have is that not being sure that what you're doing is the right thing. So when a student tells you, I'm feeling distressed, I'm feeling annoyed, I'm feeling angry, acknowledge the feeling. You don't have to say, oh, no, this is what you need. No. Don't give advice, but acknowledge. Those are feelings, and it's important. Give them grounding exercises. Yeah. This helps them to regulate their emotions. So how about the social well-being practices? What are some of the things they need to learn to practice on their own? Yeah. And the social well-being, we're looking for building relationships. So they need to have what can facilitate the the building of relationships. The number one is having structured group work. Assigning roles and making rotational leaders. Encourage each person to have equal participation. Create buddy systems where students are paired up. Yeah. Then have daily greeting rituals. When they come into class, this is how we greet everybody. And this helps them to start the class on a positive note. Make it exciting. Have an appreciation circle once a week. Say something positive about someone. Build the empathy. Once where I was working before I joined Strathmore, we tried to do a positive circle. So everyone was told, write on a piece of paper something good about someone and give them. So there was no particular order of doing it. Just anybody you feel you want to say something about it, so you take a piece of paper and write. So this is what happened. Everybody got a paper other than two of our managers. And I thought, well, how do you deal with that? Yeah, of course, that made a statement to the managers. Does that mean that no one had anything positive to say? I think the people may have thought long and hard and they're wondering, I've really had a hard time with this person. How is it that I'm going to write a positive thing? So even as you're doing a positive thing about a student, let's be careful that no one is left out. How do you re-strategize that? How do you rename it? So that, not everybody is left out. Not everybody, as in no one is left without something that they have to say. Yeah. Now, conflict resolution. Conflict resolution, my friend, where teenagers have issues. Yeah. Someone looked at me badly. They spread rumors about each other. And it's not just teenagers. Even, there's an age between 7, 8, 9 or 6, 7, 8, 9 where they're going through a lot of emotions and trying to learn how to manage their emotions. They're disconnecting from their families and they just don't know how to deal with conflict. So how do you deal with conflict in your classes? Can you teach them? Can you tell them, okay, this is what we do when we have a conflict in class? Calm yourselves down. How do you feel? You listen, agree on a solution. Will it be agreed by the whole team? What are the facts about it? But let the class know that there is a system for solving conflicts. Because if they don't, some of them will feel all the time, I'm the one who's at wrong. That can't be. Yeah. And for sure, if that person is always wrong, then you call them aside and try and show them logic to it. Yeah. Inclusive participation, celebrating diversity within your class, people who come from different places, they talk different languages, they have different skills, different ways of saying things and expressing themselves, and that becomes a very positive thing. So if you look at cognitive and physical well-being, I think I need to rush a little bit on time, but I hope we'll be able to capture everything. Now, physical well-being is very important. Yeah, movement and breaks, stretching after sitting for a long time. Yeah, giving your students a brain break. Yeah. And a cognitive, you need to have clear task instructions. I have seen in some places the teacher says, makes one sentence and asks, is it clear? And they said yes. Like, okay, points to one person and says, so tell me what you have understood. And for sure, what they say and what the teacher said is a bit different. So it's important that you confirm it is clear and what the expectations are, especially when you're dealing with conflicts. When you're given instructions that is going to affect them in any manner, clarity is important. Sleep is important. As we mentioned, if sleep affects you as an adult, lack of it, it will affect students. Yeah, hydration. My hope is that every school has, proper drinking water systems, and the students are able to hydrate on a regular basis. Even encouraging the students, all right, stay for a break, stand up, stretch, drink some water so that you can go on with the class. Nutrition, and especially this season, it is so hot. If you're not intentional in getting them hydrated, they will always be dull. Yeah. And so remember, if you are going to hydrate a lot, they also need to go to the toilet. So it's important you are intentional about the regular breaks. And also nutrition. Nutrition is quite important. Huh? What are the social and emotional learning? What is social and emotional learning? Let's first define this. It is the process of developing skills to understand and manage emotions, build on healthy relationships, more responsible decisions, and achieve goals. It basically just teaches us how to deal with our feelings and get along with other people and make good decisions in life. Life is about relationships. One of the facts about life is that we cannot do it on our own. We need the other people to be around us. Yeah. And at times we are so angry with all the others people in the world that you're like, you know what? Let me just keep to myself. And especially if you're an introvert, introverts just like to keep to themselves. They're thinking, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need you to come around in my life. I've got enough around me. But life is all about relationships. So relationships is something that we need to train our learners. they need to create self-awareness, recognizing how their emotions are affecting the other person. Self-management, how to control their impulses. Yeah, they have an impulse of just calling out names. Yeah, which behaviors have they developed, and how do we help them to manage those behaviors, to mold them to be positive behaviors? Social awareness, understanding and empathizing with others from different backgrounds. I hear this, students do a lot of njongwano, which at times is really, really, really nasty. Njongwanos, referring to parents, referring to families, referring to where you come from, guys who come from this area are like this. But what does the person who's been told that feel? They build up walls. They ensure that this is never going to happen to me again. So how do we create empathy? How do we make our students understand? Yeah. We need to teach them relationship skills, how to handle positive relationships, but also how to get out of these negative relationships, how not to be bullied into relationships that are not helping them. Yeah. So I know in girls' schools, a lot of what they deal with is lesbianism. So how do you deal with that? How do you encourage your girls? You are your own. You can say no. Yeah, you can report. How do you create a safe space for your students to come and tell you this is what is happening? How do you ensure that they feel they can come and report it? And the fact that they know they will report it and something will be done, that's empowering to them. And also helping them make decisions in an ethical manner. What is the decision-making process? What helps them to arrive to a certain decision? And it's something that can be talked about in class. Like when you're making this decision, what are the steps? What do you consider? Yeah, it's not just emotions that come into it. Be objective. What are the consequences of this? How do we teach them how to do this? How do we hold these day-to-day conversations? And then how do we create an environment for our students? How do we create a safe learning space? What does a safe learning space look like? It's inclusive. It celebrates diversity. Yeah. It makes you feel emotionally safe. It encourages expression. Yeah. Knowing that the voice of the student is valid. And as we had looked at circle time, journaling is quite important for students. Yeah. A safe learning space also encompasses growth, life skills. Yeah. Being encouraged in setting a goal. And maybe one of the things that I had wanted to mention in terms of setting goals, even as teachers ourselves, some of the things that we learn is what we reflect to our students. So let me take an example. When you are 20 to 30 years old, you are learning, you are in school, you are in college, yeah, you are beginning your career. You move from college, or then you get to your first job, so you start earning a little bit. Yeah, when you start earning a little bit, that is where your financial wellness comes in. Yeah, when you're in school, you are building a social system. When you go to work, the social system changes a bit. Your environment changes from where you were saying, depending on where you're living, you're likely to move. Yeah. Your occupation changes. Now you feel that your life is going ahead. When you are 30 to 40, the question is, where are you financially? If in your 20 to 30, you didn't plan where you want to be in your 30 to 40, you're likely to waste that decade. Yeah. So let's go to 30 to 40. What had you planned to do? You tell yourself, by the time I am 40 years old, or I want to build a house, I want to start a family, I want to have saved enough for this, I want to have moved up in my career, I want to be teaching from this level to the other. Yeah, I want to have built my parents a house, I want to have done ABCD. What are your goals in this decade of 30 to 40? And as you're working on your goals, actualizing your goals, you're setting yourself up to 40 to 50 years old. 40 to 50. What is it that you want to have achieved? Yeah. What level of leadership do you want to have achieved at this particular age? Where do you want to have grown intellectually in terms of advancing your education, advancing the responsibilities that they are with you? Remember, if you have planned for your family either between 20 to 30 or 30 to 40. So at 40 to 50, the children are at a certain age. Have you considered their university education? Have you considered the schools they will go to? What are all these? When you look at the wheel of life, what are all the things that you have planned that as you accomplish your 30 to 40, your children are going to be 40 to 50, they're going to be in this school. And you started saving for it. Yeah. You've made investments. Where are we now? 50 to 60. What do you want to be doing? Will you have built? Will you start building? Yeah. Remember, we'll also have responsibilities to our parents. Maybe now you have siblings who have children and their care ends up on you. You're setting your goals. 60 to 70. Are you retiring? Are you working? Are you writing books? Are you enhancing education? Where do you want to be by this time? 70 to 80, probably retired. Where are you living? Where do you want to live? So when you are in your 30s and you have not projected to your 80s, you're likely to be dependent on your children. If you're not dependent on your children because you decided you won't have children 30 to 40, how have you aligned yourself that you're going to live that? So look at your life in terms of decades and decide, where do you want to be in each and every decade? Where do you need to start working from to build your house, to start your family, to be who you want to be by the time you retire, to make the marks in life? Now, if you can set your personal goals, then you can show your students how to set their own life goals. Then they are able to appreciate why they need to go through education, why they need to do well in their education. But have you set your personal goals yourself? Yeah. Let's move to psychological first aid. Psychological first aid is mainly about creating a safe space for people. Yeah. The WHO says that psychological first aid is the immediate compassionate support for individuals in distress. So in the student setting, it helps students feel safe, calm, connected, and hopeful, while guiding them towards a healthy coping habits. How do you lead them to this? You need to notice when a student is in distress. Yeah. If you have a class of 90, how do you do that? What will help you to notice when a student is in distress? You need to listen to what they bring to you without judging or without thinking that is a silly thing. Yeah. I always tell the youth you're going to do a lot of foolish things when you're a youth. When you grow up, you look back and ask yourself, really, I made those decisions? Yeah. That's why we listen to them without making judgment, because at that time, it's a time when they make mistakes or they can learn from their mistakes. Are you able to link them to support services? Yeah. How can you be supportive and not diagnostic? Yeah. So it's about creating a safe and calm environment. Yeah. Somewhere where they feel that they can speak out without being judged, where they offer support, and of course, most importantly, creating and promoting connection. So what are some of the daily practices that we can give our students? So number one, let's start with calm breathing lessons. We can decide that before I start every class, we're going to do breathing exercises. For those who didn't join us in the beginning, we did breathing exercises. Yeah, you breathe in for 4, breathe out for 5, and make sure you completely breathe out. And that helps in relieving stress and dealing with anxiety. Helps you to basically calm down. Be clear about routines. And there's a question that I want you to start answering for me as we are doing, as I go through the rest of the points. What happens before, between, and after a double lesson? We're discussing with Nancy, and we would remember what a double lesson of math looked like in an afternoon after you have taken ugali. It was not the most pleasant thing to have. So let me ask you, what happens before you start a double lesson? How do you manage when students are sleeping in class in a double lesson? And what do you do after? If you could put that in the chat, I would really appreciate. Let's get to learn from each other. What happens before, between, and after a double lesson? Yeah. What are you practicing now? I know we are giving you tips on what you can do, but what are you practicing now? So what are the other practices we can do? Predictable routines. Let the students know this is how you move from one level to the other. Routines help in securing emotional security, yeah? And they reduce the behavioral disruptions. They prevent students from having outbursts and just decided, you know what, I'm done, I'm walking out of this. So when they're clear about the transition, they're clear about what is going to happen from one moment to the other, it reduces that. Yeah. Do quick emotional check-ins, and like, how are we doing? Give a thumbs up. Are we okay? Are we feeling just things are not happening? So the question is, how do we translate all these practices into systems? How do we create systems that are going to help you to practice all these practices? Yeah. So where have we started with our practices? We started with the practices that you gave us at the very beginning when we went through your survey. Then we have basically emphasized that those practices are right, but how do you turn them into systems? Number one is that you need mental health awareness. Mental health awareness helps you in reinforcing mental health awareness for yourself, but also for the student. Because if you can identify what you're going through and what it needs you to move out of it, then you can practice it for your students. So bring it home. You need peer support structures. We need the leadership model in well-being. You need access to resources. So what do we do first when we're doing practices? How do you institutionalize? There are guidelines that you can basically just draft for yourselves. When you enter into a class, the first thing you do is grounding. Take several deep breaths with your class. Ask them how they're doing. Get them to settle down. Get them to stretch. Stretching helps the body to circulate blood. Blood needs to circulate. Watch on their posture, how they're sitting. Are their backs bent? Are they grounded? Are they, holding their chin? Where's their energy levels? And the truth is, it doesn't matter how much you're squeezed in a class. You can stand up and do exercises at the same spot. There are very many exercises you can do on the spot, but the idea is to make them do at least a 3-minute exercise that is going to, gradually just get blood flowing from the top to the bottom, to the hands, to, everywhere. When you decide that that's how you do, you document it so that you're telling your management, this is what we can do to help our classes. Now, one of the challenges you have is that there's no time for reflections, there's no time for exercises. How about you put minutes? Same, this will be a 2-minute, it will be a 3-minute guideline of what we do in between, the beginning of our class. Now, peer support structures. When it comes to peer support structures, one of the things that you can do is document how a peer counseling structure would look like, and then seek funding for that, so that the students are trained to be peer counselors. Yeah. So you started with documenting emotional check-ins, taking regular exercise breaks. Remember, as you're documenting that, document the need for the students to be consistently taking water. The need for them to hydrate on a regular basis. And of course, as they hydrate, please note they will, let me just keep measuring that they will keep going to the toilet, yeah. So then the leadership modeling means that you, as teachers, also create a well-being program. Let the students see you guys take a break and stretch. Let the students see you drink water. Let the students see you taking a breath break. Yeah? Let the students see you practicing wellness, grounding yourself, managing your emotions, creating support systems amongst yourself as teachers. Because what you practice then can be modeled amongst them. So how do you document that? Accessing resources. Resources are, as my colleague has shown you, there are a lot of resources on the IMSINGI website, and we'll be able to share that with you again, so that whatever information you need, then you can take it from there and model it. Yeah. So let's look at dealing with energy levels. And for this, we are going to watch a video clip. Nancy, I hope you're okay with it.
Could we skip this part because we are running on time?
You're running
I'll
on
send
time.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send it to them.
You're okay.
As a resource. Yes, please.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So let's look at implementing. What hinders implementation? I think we had more or less gone through this. Yeah. So we have a lot of things that basically can hinder all this, and we had mentioned them before. But what are we saying we can do about it? You know, we need to provide mental health education to yourself and to the students. Normalize conversations and build trust. Keep having the conversation on how you're doing, how do you identify, seek partnerships, and maximize on, sessions like this of IMSINGI, maximizing in getting more and more resources, and encourage self-care and peer support. Yeah. So the next part that we will actually skip, Nancy, is the case scenario, which is something that I would have wanted to hear from us, but I think we've ran out of time already. And what are we asking? In the case scenario, we have a teacher who is overwhelmed. Yeah. And this happens all the time. I think we've also seen that in the chat. When a teacher is overwhelmed, what would help that teacher right there and then? When you notice your colleague is overwhelmed, how do you help them? What would help them there and then? What would help you when you look at everything and you say, tired, I'm overwhelmed? Then what would sustain the support that you're giving your fellow teacher? What would sustain the solution you have found for being overwhelmed? What do you need to be able to sustain it? Think of a withdrawn learner. Yeah? What would help the withdrawn learner right there and then to sort how they're feeling? And again, what would sustain the support that you're giving them? I would have wanted us to discuss this, but maybe it's something you can do on your own. So let's go to the personal action plans that I would like you to draw for yourself, because this is very key to your next level. What are the 3 habits you can do for yourself? Yeah, it could be hydration, it could be exercises, it could be emotional checks in with yourselves. And what are the 3 practices that you can do for your students? How do you do your breaks? How do you help them to ground? How do you notice them? What are the 3 things that you can tell your students to be able to check on themselves? What is the one system to engage? Can you request your leadership in the school that you institutionalize grounding sessions? That this is how we should be starting every session of class. That we need to exercise in between sessions, not just PE. And please do not take away the PE sessions. They're very important for students. It helps their blood to flow. When the blood flows, the stress gets reduced. It helps their muscles to function well. It feeds the brain with enough blood. Yeah. How do you stay small and stay consistent? So when you're drawing your action point, look at all this. Look at these 4 levels. Draw an action point. Just the way you're looking for at your goals, what would be your action points? So what would be our takeaways for today? Number 1 is to identify that mental health affects learning. The small practices are very important. Self-care supports sustainability. If you start with something that you cannot sustain, then it becomes very difficult to create that habit. So start with something that you can sustain, then grow building it, pole. Strong systems protect well-being. Strong systems are what you institutionalize in your institution, yeah, which support the well-being. They protect you as a teacher and they protect the student. So what system are you creating within your institution that is going to protect the well-being of your student and the well-being of your teachers? Remember, a well-being teacher, a teacher who is well, is able to support the students better. So our final closing reflection is just to ask yourself a few questions. Number 1, how much do you have right now? I can assure you it is enough. You don't need everything. What you know right now is enough to start something. It's enough to go to your leadership and tell them, could we start with 1, 2, 3, 4 teachers and 1, 2, 3, 4 students? Write it down neatly and present them with it. What these have this and this benefits, They're small things, but the idea is to make them consistent. And importantly, have a support system. Create a support system within your colleagues, and help the students also create a support system. Yeah. So as we finish, I want us to go back to the chat. I know I have asked a couple of questions, and because this session we really needed to learn from each other, I would like to go on to the chat. All right. So when we asked about what was the light bulb moment, identify the signs of distress, I think we went through that. So Frida says that some students labeled difficult to be struggling with mental health issues, could be struggling with mental health issues. That is very true. And there is emotional burden. Yes, watch out for emotional burden. If you have to do research on it, go ahead and do it. Be able to identify it and deal with it. Then we have 50% of conditions begin before 14 years. This is a fact. Yeah. So there's need for early intervention. So what do you do about those early interventions? How do you help a parent identify? For sure, most parents will refuse, like, no, that's not my child. Us guys, we don't have issues. Yeah. But it happens. And especially this is an age where hormones are everywhere. So how do we deal with that? Yeah. Lowering cortisol, and by engaging outdoor activities such as exercising, engaging in clubs for well-being of learners. This is excellent. Thank you, Samuel. Bonanjao, understanding your own well-being as instructors is paramount before we care for the learner's well-being. Thank you. That is very true. Yeah, play is important. Play is very important. Even creating funny games in class, helping the brain to shift from one level to the other. Play is very important. Yeah. Some institutions are too toxic to factor in self-care mechanisms. What would I say about that? Keep asking, keep at it. We used to call our headmistress a rewinding cassette, but for sure the things that she kept rewinding are the things that have eventually helped us in life. So be that rewinding cassette, keep talking about self-care mechanisms. Don't give up. Yeah, as long as you are in that institution, you may be the agent for change, and at one time you may find you're the ones who have caused the change to happen. So what happens before, between, and after WS? Oh, this is night. We have washing breaks, stretching and hydrating. That is very important, especially hydrating. Stretching, because it allows the blood to flow. The muscles that have stiffened through a session where they're not understanding anything or they're falling asleep somehow, it helps the muscles to relax and be attentive. So energizer through mnemonic song. I like that. That is a very nice one. Engaging through music, through art is also important. Drawing learners' interest, prepare them physically and emotionally, and give breaks and maybe water break. Yes, I agree. I think I'll encourage more peer support for teachers and students. Thank you, Kakuria. And Caroline, Energizer, I tried nursery rhymes. It was magical. That's a good one, Carol. Yes, let's try magic. Let's try even nursery rhymes. Let them even sing the rhymes they used to sing in their vernacular. If you have that kind of variety and cultural changes, it makes a difference. Yeah. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. We apologize that we have moved way above the time. Is there any, maybe one or two questions before we close out? I hand over to Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Catherine. This session, like you said, was educative, and I like so much the way you keep on saying or reiterating to us as educators that we cannot pour from an empty cup. If we want to see a routine, it has to become real to us. So I am so grateful. I know it may have felt heavy kidogo after a whole day of teaching, some of us teachers, but it is necessary, and I'm going to send you all this so that you can internalize and you can take it all in. So not to worry on, hey, what did she say? That point I didn't catch it, and things like that. So you're gonna get these materials. Right now, I'm just gonna give like a minute or two to anyone who has a question to Catherine. Please, you can unmute yourself or raise your hand. But I believe we're all bold here. You can unmute yourself. Yeah, feel free. Anyone with a question or need for more clarification at any point. Thank you for all the thank yous that are coming in. I see them. And yeah, we are grateful for such an insightful session. Okay. I'm going to assume that no one unmuting or raising their hand mean there is no question, or we're all taking it in. So I'm gonna call, I know I normally don't do this, but I'm gonna call for anyone who wants to give a vote of thanks, anyone to volunteer to give a vote of thanks. Yeah, feel free. If you don't, nice, Bonanjal, please unmute yourself. You can unmute, you can put on your video too, if you're okay.
Okay, good evening.
Good evening, Bonanjal.
Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Very nice. The session was very educative, and it is therapeutic to all of us. And we all admit that we go through so much. And if we be having these kind of sessions every now and then we'll be able to handle the learners the right way. So we appreciate so much. God bless you. And we're very, very thankful. We are looking forward to the slides because sometimes you'll get lost here and there, and then you'll catch up later. But once we get those slides and then we go through them, and we shall be at a place. I think ever since we began these sessions, we are growing by and by and gaining much knowledge, and we'll be able to handle the learners and also to understand ourselves and handle ourselves and understand also our what do you call them? Our peers and our colleagues in our places of work in the right manner. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wananjao. I believe this has a lot of ripple effect. God helping us, we will know how to measure some of the ripple effect of these webinars, because imagine if one teacher is handling 90 kids or learners, and we were here, the most we were was 50. And just thinking, minus Catherine, myself, Radina, okay, 47, yeah. So 47 times around that number, how many kids get healthier educators, more aware, more empathetic, more compassionate? This is such an amazing space. And I believe that as we continue, like Bonanjo is saying, we will also share the good word with our colleagues. Don't just come in by yourself, gain it all by yourself. And then, I know you probably multiply it with them, but let's all learn together. So thank you so much, Catherine. Also, thank you for all of you for staying through the 27 of us. I know that it's dedication, and this actually is such a sign that we are passionate about what we are learning and what we are doing. So thank you so much. If we could all unmute and say bye. I'm gonna send a feedback form. Let me even share that feedback form right now in the chat. Ili mtu akitoka anatoka akiwa ameclick. So please leave me with your feedback. It's just 4 questions, but I'm gonna share it also in the email. Make sure you fill in the form. It goes a long way in helping to plan this and so much more. So thank you so much. Please let's sign up for the courses, the Educator Mental Health, the Learning Disability course, and the program. If your school is within Nairobi, please reach out. Let's come to your school and let's see what we can do together. Yeah. So let's all unmute and say goodbye. If you can video on yourself, please, I want to see all your smiles as we are going out.